how much of a contribution does the construction industry make to the world's energy-related carbon emissions output? How much of a problem is it?
It's quite large. It sort of depends on the data you look at and what's included. If we're looking at the data that the World Green Building Council have, they reckon that about 11% of embodied or upfront carbon is associated with materials and construction processes, and that's through the whole building life cycle. But then they also start to include things like operational emissions, which is heating, lighting, that sort of thing, and it goes up to 28%. If you're looking at the UK, then it follows a similar format. So I reckon we're probably looking at about 11, 12, 15%, which doesn't sound a lot, but actually is quite large in the big scheme of things if you take into account lots of industries.
You said about the construction industry that it's very slow to embrace change. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why we're still having this emissions problem with the construction industry, and that it is kicking out so much, if you like, than other sectors, because construction industry is very slow to embrace change. Would you agree with that?
I think it has been slow to embrace change because generally things work quite well. I don't think that's the case now, and I actually think the construction industry is moving along faster than an awful lot of other industries. I think there's a lot of engagement out there. The main contractors are very engaged with this, and obviously we work for them, and we want to work with them on this because we feel quite strongly about it in Briggs. So I don't think it's an attitude of slowness to change, but more of the fact that it's actually harder to change.
But it's becoming, so what you're saying is becoming more of the culture now. The construction industry is taking on more of a sustainable culture, which brings me to the next question, which is, Briggs & Knapsack is establishing a sustainable culture within its workplace. So which measures are you taking to achieve that?
Ah, right. This is my thing, really. This is my thing, yeah. The first thing we do, it's important that everybody understands their own personal impact on the planet. I think unless you have a personal interest in this, it's quite hard to engage. So what I actually do is I get all of our new starters to do their own personal eco footprint quiz because we have an induction. That's available to everybody in the company, and the board of directors have also done it. You know, they engaged with that really well. So, and that's the first step. And then, of course, we have a new starter induction. Now, we have one of those every month, pretty much. And that can be a variety of people. We could have an estimator, we might have a contracts manager, we might have an admin person. And I cover a variety of things within that. Waste, spills, the legal aspect of it. But it's going down to as much as turning lights off when you leave a room, that sort of thing. But what I try and do with the induction, it's not a sit here and let's have a little chat. There's, you know, going to watch my screen and that's all you're going to get. I try to adapt it to suit. So if I'm finding that the inductees are interested in a certain subject, we'll expand upon that, and sometimes we overrun. And we'll have a conversation. The young generation are very passionate about this. They really are, and I'm finding that the more we take on younger people within the industry, this is going to become more and more important to them, perhaps.
I mean, how important is it that stakeholders such as suppliers and developers buy into that sustainable culture, supply chain?
I can't emphasize how important it is. It's essential. There's no way that this can be done with one company. This has to be an industry, it has to be led throughout suppliers and main contractors, developers. They need to understand and want to do this as well. They do. Main contractors are asking us to provide information that because they are working towards their own agenda of net zero carbon and all that, those sorts of things, sustainability reporting, trying to get a clean building, the BREEAM and all that sort of thing. If we can't work together, then it's not going to happen. The developers need the main contractors to take on board what they want. The main contractors need us to take on board what they want. We then need our suppliers to work with us so we can achieve what the end result is going to be. And working together will work on that. I think it's really, really important.
As far as you're concerned, and the people, the contractors that you're working with, the suppliers, they're all on the same page as far as sustainability and its delivery is concerned. You're getting good feedback, good collaboration.
Yeah.
What impacts have the sustainable initiatives already implemented by Briggs & Mascow had on the company's carbon footprint? So what's been the end result? What's been the result so far?
Right. This is quite a hard one to answer because it's a work in progress, and it's going to be continuing for, well, probably decades. Yeah. I think I'm still collecting data. I would say that probably one of the biggest impacts that we've managed to do is the use of electric hot melt mixers, which I tend to go on about a bit, but that when we can use those on site, we can actually reduce our emissions by around 70%. Now that's a lot. It actually brings me back to the collaboration thing, because there's a certain element of electricity that has to be provided on site, and we need to work with the main contractor or the developer to make sure that facility is available so we can use the electric mixers. And they're quicker, they heat quicker, they use in electricity, not propane gas, and the overall emissions are reduced by about 70%. And that's a really good example of something that's been developed and we can work well with. The other, we're looking at changing our energy suppliers. We're in contract at the moment, but in September we plan to go to some of them already on green energy, but we're going to have everyone with green energy. And that will obviously have an impact on our carbon footprint. But until we've done that, I don't know what it's going to be.
Like most householders, and you're shopping around to get the best green deal, as it were, from the energy supplier. Yeah.
Yeah. They need to sort of perhaps step up a little bit themselves, I think, to provide a solution that is actually also cost effective, because it's quite important when you're looking at sustainability that the company still makes a profit, because you've still got to make a profit, otherwise you're not going to be there to make a difference.
What are the long-term aims for your sustainable strategy? And I say yours, I mean...
I know, yeah. Our main aim is to be net zero carbon by 2040. I know some people want to do it quicker. I don't mean as a company, but I think you have to be realistic in things. The target might seem a bit far off. It's actually, if you think about it, it's not that far off at all, and time goes very quickly. But you need to be realistic, and it will take into account things like, yeah, it'd be great to have electric vehicles everywhere, but there is no way that can work unless we've got an infrastructure to support that. So these little steps have to take into account. Plant and equipment is going to start. There's a big initiative out there with the main contractors to get diesel off of site. So any diesel powered plant has got to be redone, and that doesn't happen overnight, because the people that make the plant have to be able to adapt and reinvent the wheel, if you like. So these things take time. So innovation's important. Looking at alternative sources is important. And it is a challenge for everybody. There's no question about it. So our long-term game is net zero carbon by 2040. We'd like to be able to use electric hot melt mixers, perhaps look at other types of plant and work with some of the people that provide asphalt mixers, for example. And, let's sort of see where we go with that. And it is a challenge for everybody. But I actually relish a challenge, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we go, and how what we manage to achieve. And to me, as personally, 70% on electromixers is absolutely great. I love that idea. But I also like the fact that if I can actually see people turning the lights off when they leave a room, that gives me a sense of satisfaction as well, because it's a little step. It's not a big step, but every little helps, as they say.
Absolutely, every little helps. And I know how seriously you take the sustainable culture at Briggs & Mascow. I'm sure you'll get there. The 2040 target looks very achievable with the serious way you're taking this, and the passion you show for your subject, and those.
Oh, good.
If only more companies were like yourselves, I'm sure there wouldn't be a problem.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.